Okay, this is a rail cut along the Birmingham Mineral Railroad on the far northeastern end of Ruffner. You've got a neighborhood just past where those trees are, and way on the other side, the rail bed continues near the top of the mountain, heading towards Highway 11. And of course, you know, back in the day when this was in operation, it went all the way to Trussville. But right here is the merging right here on the Birmingham Mineral Railroad, the main line right here. This right here is the Ruffner number 2 red ore mine. This is the Spur line right here. And the Spur line goes, joins up right here, and it proceeds paralleling the Birmingham Mineral Railroad, the main line, and it starts rising so many degrees, I think maybe 1.5, 2 degrees up to head to the Ruffner number 2 mine, I guess for about 1/4 of a mile. It was a big undertaking. He had to cut through all this because, you know, this was created between 1888 and 1889. So, if you were to continue on the Ruffner number 2, walking the Spur line, which is a lot of heavy undergrowth, a lot of thick brush, even in the wintertime, it'll take you right to the number 2 mine. But this is a look back, and like I said, this whole line was completed between 1888 and 1889. So, it's pretty impressive. It's a beautiful walking trail. This is my humble opinion. This is one of the best walking trails at Ruffner. But anyway, that right there is the beginning of the Ruffner number 2 spur line. Okay, right here you've got the Ruffner number 2, the spur line. You can see how much they had to cut right here. And you see it starts rising above the main line here. And right here they got the maps for this. I need to check just to make sure. I think they had a siding right here. It's always interested me along Ruffner. There were no railroad Ys or anything. So, you know, Sloss pretty much ran all the mines out here, Sloss-Sheffield. And they went to 2 of their respective blast furnaces, the one downtown and the one in North Birmingham. I've asked people who are really experienced in locomotives and railroad history, you know, how did they pull this? Did they push the mine cars? Just that right there is a question that I don't even know if I couldn't answer it, but maybe someone with a lot more expertise could. But up here is the number 2 line as it's heading, paralleling the main line right here, and it's heading back to Ruffner number 2. And they had to make it a long spur line because of the elevation of where the mine was at, as opposed to the main line here. But down here, in quite a few different areas, you still have the stone culverts, terracotta pipe culverts, and actually cast iron pipe culverts that still carry water to this day, going up under the rail bed, and still doing their job after, what, 130 plus years. So up there, you can see the elevation's getting higher on the spur line. But must have been an incredible undertaking back then, because everything had to be done by hand. There were no steam shovels yet. So all the timber cutting down, grading this, earth moving by hand, ballast to fill all the ravines for the culverts. It's an incredible undertaking. Probably don't appreciate it enough as we should. But Back up there is the Ruffner number 2 spur line headed to the mine. So, and this is a look back to the southeast, or southwest if you want to say. And we'll just continue on down. Okay, that's looking back to the northeast. Got the Ruffner number 2 spur line up there. And one of the things you can really detect in the wintertime, when they dismantled all this in the 60s after the last mine, Ruffner number 2 had closed down. L&N came back some years later, I think in the late 60s or early 70s, removed all the rails, dismantled the line, but you can still see today, after all those years, those are cross ties right there. You know, you'll still see remnants of the cross ties from this rail bed right here. They're laying everywhere. So, all right, we'll continue on down for a little ways towards walking in the direction of Ruffner number 2. Okay, just a quick side note here. That's looking back to the southwest. And this right here is one of the stone culverts right there. They all look the same. That's looking back to the northeast, but that's one of the stone culverts right there that was put in place by masons 1888, 1889. So the entrance to that culvert's right over here. So they had to lay all these stone culverts ahead of when they were building up the tracks right here. So all these had to be done before they could, flatten out the rail line or the rail bed, and later come in and put the cross ties in the tracks. But tremendous undertaking. Don't really know where they got all the stones from. Speculation, several different quarries in the area, but nothing definitive. But anyway, let's look back to the southwest. Okay, this is looking back to the northeast along the Birmingham Mineral Road. That's the main line. Of course, looking in this direction, this one all the way to Trussville. And once you got here is a pretty good size fill that they did to level the rail bed. So all this had to be filled in, this ravine right here. And straight down there, maybe I'll be able to see it in the sunlight. You can still see the creek right there, the drainage creek. That right there is a stone culvert. And it continues all the way down that way. And over here, you've got the north side of the culvert right here. And may not be able to see in the sunlight, but that huge berm right there, that's probably the biggest railbed berm at Ruffner. That's probably a good 75 to 100 feet high. All that had to be filled in by hand, rocks, ballast. I'm sure a lot of tailings from the mines, because they were already working the mines when they were building this railbed. So up there through that is almost the end of the Ruffner number 2 spur line. And straight ahead, you can't see through the sunlight, there's a stone culvert that runs underneath the number 2 spur line. And just back over there is when it takes a turn to the north and goes straight into the mine, where the loading tipples would have been in the ore crusher. So, but impressive. Don't know why they don't have a trail up here. That would be pretty neat to have a trail up there at the to walk along the number 2 branch line. But it's, even in the wintertime, it's tough going. A lot of thorns up there. So, but anyway, all up there, man, all of this had to be filled in. Must have just taken it months to do, months. But this is a look back to the southwest, and the number 2 mine site would be right up there. Okay, we've come up the mountain ways to be level with the Ruffner number 2 branch line, the rail line right here. So right through that stand of trees there, just beyond that is the spur line, where the big raised berm is for the Ruffner number 2 branch line of the Birmingham Mineral Railroad. And so line came through here, and it levels off because we're going right into the mine site. So you had 2 sets of tracks right here, and they converged into one track heading to the northeast to run all the way down to merge into the main line of the Birmingham Mineral Railroad. So this right here is the Ruffner number 2 mine site. This mine was opened in around 1890 or so by Sloss-Sheffield Steel and Iron Company. When they opened it, it consisted of drift mining, which was standard back in that day, and they did they started working on a rudimentary or not a very big slope right here. This right here is part of the beneficiation plant that was put in the 40s and 50s up here when they reopened the mine. But the rail bed came right in here. Place is completely overgrown in the summertime, but in the wintertime it's nice. So straight ahead is the ore crusher. So rail line came around here, 2 tracks, and went all the way back into the end of the just tracks ended right into this cutout section of this ravine right here. Okay, this is a look back on the where the rail lines would have been, and just beyond those trees right there, it would have curved, dog-legged left to get on the Ruffner number 2, the spur line. And so this right here is probably the most definitive section of Ruffner next to the mine portal. And that right there is the ore crusher foundation. That is chute right there. I'm not going to get into any details of Ruffner number 2, but anyway, the mine cars come out here on a platform, and they would have the mine cars tipped over, and the ore would come through. It would be crushed, and then it would be dropped off into the waiting rail cars of the Birmingham Railroad. So this one is the next to Ruffner number 3, which is the ore crushers hollowed out. This is the only complete ore crusher. I believe that's a McCulley number 8 ore crusher that's left anywhere along Red Mountain. So that's why it's so historic right there. So back in the day, this was all steam powered by coal, then later converted to electricity. But anyway, the rail lines, 2 sets of rails went all the way back and terminated in this cutout section of this ravine. You had drift mines going up one side of the flank, another one on this flank, and there's a picture. I think it was made about 1890. You see a lot of gentlemen standing on this huge loading platform with the rail cars underneath. Best guess that was taken here when they opened this mine up. So they had what was called gravity plane system on either side of this, and they were going after the big seam underneath is the Irondale seam. So years later, they closed the mine, and then they reopened it around 1909, 1910. The slope mine is up in this direction. Used to be, the original slope was on this side. They turned it into a manway. So a lot of history here just at this mine site. Too much to get into for just this presentation, but that's always impressive right there. So, but the mine is up here, the slope mine. They had the hoist house up here. I may walk up there for a minute, but when the mine cars were pulled up out of the slope, they went along a set of tracks over here, and they had a rotary tipple where the mine cars would be flipped over on their side. Contents of the ore be sent down below through this chute, and it would come up over here. Like I said, the contents would be dumped down here. Back in the late 40s and 50s, they put this ore beneficiation plant and treatment plant, all these foundations. I mean, went through a whole process of cleaning this ore. A lot of conveyors, everything here, too much to get into for this. But I spent a lot of money on this. The Ruffner number 2 mine, they finally closed it. It goes for a long way. It goes about 1,000 feet down. It's way up under the Norris rail yards of, well, it was Southern Railways back in the day. It's Norfolk Southern now. So just take a, may take a quick look up here at the mine portal for just a minute. Okay, that's a look back right there at the ore crusher on the left-hand side. Got the remains of a stone retaining wall here. And right here, just thought I'd video this. You still see the cross ties in place. Here's your one set of rails. And here's where your next set was. And you can still see the, might not be able to tell with the sun, but you can still see the cross ties. They removed all the rails, but they kept the cross ties in place right there. And that just terminates back in there to that cutout section in the ravine. So, like I said, on either side, they had a series of drift mines spaced out every 60 feet going all the way to the top. So, it's a long way to the top from here, believe me. So, all right. And we'll make our way up this footpath. See all these stone retaining walls are still in place. And the mine portal will be up there. Okay, get you a good view of where the rail cars were stacked up. Right here, going back into this cut. Got these stacked rock walls. Just go back probably 120 years ago. Right up there, that section, that's where the manway was. And that was where they had their first slope mine, was on this side. So you got the cut there. Let's see. All right. So the cable hoist house sat right back up in there. There's a couple of walls still left of the hoist house. And you can see that that right there is the minecart tramway bed. Every 60 feet going up the mountain, there was a drift mine. Same as over here. But this is the Ruffner number 2. And they modified this and opened up in 1910. Actually, these are drift mines that were coming down. So they took one of the drift mines on your first left, made it part of the mine. All this they encased in concrete. When they opened it back up in 1910, ran it for a number of years. And like I said, the cable hoist house is up here, so when the mine carts came out in trips of 3 or 4, they came right out here. We pulled all the way up, almost to the building of the hoist house, and then switched off to side tracks and went all the way down to the rotary tipple and the chutes. Was dumped that dumped the ore down in these holding bins, and then it was conveyed up to the ore crusher. But didn't bring a light with me today, but it goes down a long, long way. So they came up here many years ago, put these in for part of the bat preservation program. So you still have the rails are still in place. In fact, they're in place going all the way down to the water line. So, all right. And let's look back up. So, I believe the Ruffner number 2 ended this mining operation just before 1960. I believe 57 or 58 is when they finally closed this down. So, all right.